Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome to another episode of Legacy's Journey, where we talk about creating what outlives you. I'm your host, Cameron Williams, owner of Kinley Consulting, where we focus on strategic financial growth for marketing agencies so that they can live the dream life they deserve and not be a slave to their business. And we do that through CFO services, tax strategy, and just overall consulting. Now, I told y'all, this is season 2. And we're going to focus on people who are on that $1 million agency journey. So one of these people I met, I think it was in like early February, I think it was.
Yeah.
We were both at this mastermind. And I don't know how we started talking. Next thing I know, we were talking about kids and homeschooling and being married. And so then, that's just what it was. So I was like, bro, we got to get you on here. Then we reconnected over the summer. So I'm like, all right, we got to bring you on here. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Spencer is here.
Wow. Thank you so much, Cameron. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, now tell the people, because now let me give y'all a caveat here. Spencer is like really quiet, really introspective until you get him on his favorite subject. So you got to tell the people name of the company, how you got started, and then we'll jump into it.
Yeah. So, Spencer Harman. I'm the president of Wave. Wave Communications is a power dialer, but we have a few other communication products. So it's software that allows sales teams and others to do power outreach to individuals and to businesses. And we started this about 7-8 years ago. It's been quite a journey, but we've had some awesome success over the years. And I came on a little over 5.5 years ago, almost 6 years now that I started this.
All right. So you said about 6 years ago. All right. So just tell us your general story. So like, how long have you been in marketing? When did you start? And then just bring us along on your journey.
Man, yeah, it's an interesting story. So my family's pretty entrepreneurial. My dad's family, like very much so. He was kind of the opposite. He saw the pains and struggles of being involved in entrepreneurship and didn't want to do that. So he worked for the state government. And my mom's family also very entrepreneurial. And she herself, she was always doing something. Had like home business, doing crafts and like mail fulfillment. And growing up around that, I just loved it. I loved entrepreneurship. I didn't really know what it was. I thought everybody did some sort of side business as a family. I just thought that's what people did. And I remember being in college. I actually wanted to be a high school math teacher and coach sports. Grew up, my mom was a basketball coach in high school, and that was kind of like life for me. And so got recruited to play a few places and decided to serve an LDS mission in Seoul, Korea, which was life-changing. That's a whole nother story. But when I came home, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to focus on school. I like really want to nail this. And as I was doing that, I met my wife. We got married pretty early. And then decided to do statistics, and I fell in love with business. And so I did statistics with the plan to go get an MBA. Doing that, I met a lot of entrepreneurs and decided I just want to go work for a startup. And there's a company called Entrada. At the time, it was Property Solutions. They did property management software. And man, I think I got really lucky. I just picked a good company that was about to go through some crazy growth. They're right around 100 people at that time. So it was a bigger company, but within a period of like 3.5 years, they crossed, over, 1,500 people in that amount of time while I was there. And so it was so awesome. And so from there, I went to a few other places. You may have heard of Sling TV. I was the first product manager at Sling TV. They had some interesting software and some good licensing deals. There were about 75 employees when I joined Sling, and it went crazy. Just crazy. And I was only there about 2 years, and we crossed, again, like 1,000 people mark. Dish Network acquired them fully. They were always investors and like part owner. But anyway, it was awesome. It's like at this point, you can't go wrong in entrepreneurship, is what I thought. And so then I tried kind of going to like a small company, and it was rough. We'd raised a bunch of money, like $20 million. There's about 40 people, and it struggled. Like it never really took off. And that it was so painful. I'm like, I never want to do this again. And so at that point, I realized, okay, I want to go to a company that's small enough, but really, really stable, where I can have impact and really grow it, but not have the pressure of being VC backed. And it was actually through coaching. I was coaching Little League football, and I met a guy. His name's Mark Leck. We met, and he owned another business, but had this product, this dialer product, that he wanted to spin out and kind of form a separate company with. And that was kind of the genesis of Wave. They already had this product inside of another company, but I came on and we spun that out into this company. And sorry, it's been so awesome. I mean, a crazy journey, but we've been, we bootstrapped it and didn't have the outside pressure of VC money, which you see a lot of software companies go through. And we were able to just keep climbing and growing. And now, we're into the start of year 6, and it's been such an awesome ride. High Level was kind of a unique experience that we found that. Sorry to just keep going, Cam. We started off in real estate. Mark's past business or business at that time was real estate. It's called the RedX, Real Estate Data Exchange. And we had a ton of connections in the real estate software space. And so we were finding CRMs across the country, and we'd partner with them and say, hey, don't build out your own, communication software. Just partner with us, and you can resell, our texting and dialing tools. And that was pretty good. We had a lot of success in signing up these partnerships, and still have some of the top CRMs in the country right now, as far as real estate CRMs go. But then we kept getting requests to do these like one-off integrations with these small companies, and the name High Level kept coming up, and we're like, what is High Level? How come we don't know what High Level is? And finally, after like the 4th request, we're like, okay, we should do something here. There's got to be enough traction. And so that was about 2 years ago. We worked with Tom Bristol from Marketer's Toolkit, and he helped us kind of get started there. And then we were able to build our own integration just over a year ago, is May of 2023, that we actually launched inside of High Level on our own. So, and I had no idea. Luckily, High Level's growth has been insane. And so we've just been able to follow along right behind them as they bring on more and more users. We've been able to pick up those users as well.
See, I told you, once you get them excited.
Yeah.
See? You see how his intro was just so pleasant, and then, okay, now we got some good stuff. Okay, let's start with why work for a startup? Because you said you were looking for a specific one. You kind of had to find one. Like, tell the people, what are some of those benefits? Because you may have some listeners who are like, don't know if I want to work or run my own or start my own agency, or maybe they're transitioning from, maybe I just want something different. Maybe I should check a startup because.
Yeah. So the benefit of going to a startup is there's no cap, there's no ceiling, right? You can grow as fast or as slow as your performance allows. And I at the time, Entrada was, again, around 100 people. And so it was like startup mode, but big enough that it's not really a startup at the same time. And so for me, kind of like my first job out of college, it was awesome because there was so much room for growth and just experimentation, right? It's like, hey, if we wanted to do something, it's like, the executive suite is like, yeah, go figure it out and do it. And I landed in a really good spot starting. I worked with the CEO, and the president over like all of sales and like growth. And so I did new ideas. My background again is statistics. So we do all this analysis on, okay, is this a good idea? And just learned a ton about, what's a good idea? How do you pursue things? How do you introduce things into the market? And it was awesome. So much fun. If I would have gone to like a huge company, there's just no way I would have got that experience. I should have been like doing management consulting for like 2 or 3 years before they would have let me touch that type of work. And I got to do it right off. And so the exposure there, I just couldn't have had it anywhere else. And again, I think it depends on everyone's personality. If you're the type that you enjoy not having boundaries and process and being told exactly what to do every single day, if that drives you nuts, go work at a startup. If you need structure and things already in place and I want to show up at work and be told exactly what to do, go work at a big company, right? Go find a Fortune 500 and start there and try and grow through time. But that was not me. And I didn't know it at the time. It just seemed attractive and it worked out.
Okay, I like that. The ability to learn. All right. Now, something you hit on, you slid over this real smooth. But see, I saw you. You said you got married young.
Wait,
right.
Yes.
So,
well, yeah. So, and Utah, maybe not that young for most people young. Again, I served, so out of high school, I did a 2-year mission. And so I came home, I was 21 at the time, started dating and yeah, man, I met the farmer's daughter. She was a dairy farmer and just awesome. And, about a year after being home from my mission, we got married. So I still had 2.5 years of school left when we got married at the time. She was 20, actually 19 a week before she turned 20. So really young. Looking back, we were too young, but at the same time, I'm so grateful because our relationship has grown so much in that time we just kind of had to experience life together. And that's formed so much trust and unity and just amazing experiences having to grow together like that. So I wouldn't change it. I don't know if I advise everyone to do it that way, but it's been awesome.
I mean, I got married young too. I was 23, she was 22, so I get it.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess then now you're transitioning from, all right, I finished my degree, then working at a startup, and then now starting this company with this guy. How does the relationship dynamic change? Because, I mean, I know the answer because I've gone through it like yourself, but kind of break that down because I'm sure some of our people are dating or maybe are less unfortunate. We hope not. But maybe, man, I've been struggling in my marriage because we both came in one way, but now money is different and all these other things. So how have you just kind of navigated through these different business growth opportunities together and still growing in a positive direction?
Yeah, great question. I would say it was nice because we came kind of from a similar background, especially financially. Both our families, had I don't even know how to say it, very not humble, but it was just normal means, and so we didn't have crazy expectations. Again, at the time we got married, the plan was for me to be a high school math teacher, right? That's the plan is, we're going to be making $3,000 to $4,000 a month and living in the small town, teaching and coaching. And that's what we signed up for, right? That's what our dreams were. And so I think anything past that has just been a bonus. And obviously, it's been so much more than that. But we didn't have that as an initial expectation. And so we started off with the same expectation with one another. I think you see problems when you don't have the same expectation, your long-term dreams and goals maybe aren't fully aligned. And that can cause problems, I think, really quickly. So I've never felt pressure at all to try and, be more than what I am in the least. My wife is, just so amazing, and how much she's like been able to help me achieve who I should be, who I can be, and like help me realize my potential and push me in that way. But at the same time, never put pressure on me to be someone that I'm not. And I just see that as a concern a lot of times. Like, everyone thinks they need to go out there and just kill it and make all this money and travel all over and do all these things. And it's like, slow down, like just enjoy being married. And then the other things, they'll come if that's what you're really trying to go after, but there's sacrifices that have to be made. And so for us, again, that wasn't the goal. The goal was, family first. And kind of going back to that startup question, as I was coming out, I realized I didn't want to teach. We tried that a little bit while I was in school. And I don't know if I already told you this story. I got super depressed. We we were
teaching.
So I started, I had an opportunity. I was like kind of helping substitute at this high school. And one of the teachers had to take a leave of absence for the last like month and a half before the school year ended. And so they hired me on full time as I was finishing up that semester. And I loved the students. I would work so hard with them. They would come over to my apartment and we'd study. My wife would like make us all dinner and food and everything. And then it'd come to the test and they'd still fail the test. And I'm like, man, how do they not understand these concepts? And it was so hard on me. My wife was like, Spencer, you cannot do this. You take everything so personally. Their failure is just going to make you depressed all of your life. Like, this will not be good for our family. And she was so wise. So I decided, I better change. And so that's when we started going in a different direction. But again, she's just been so insightful on what we should do career-wise and been supportive in everything that I've done there.
All right. Now, let's keep in the same vein. So, shout out to Bay. I've met her. She's so sweet. She just smiled the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not. She could have been like, this guy is weird. So, I don't.
She's a fan, Cam. She's a fan.
Yeah. All right. Now, you got kids. Now, we love talking about this because people with multiple kids that are also running a successful business, but not neglecting the kids, is like, I don't want to say it's rare because I guess I'm surrounded by people who do that, but I know that it's very challenging. So, of course, we're married, tried the teaching thing. All right, I'm starting to start up. So now we're starting to have kids. So, like, tell us, what were some of those challenges and what are some things you maybe learned to overcome how to not get caught up in trying to, make the business as successful as it can? Because as a guy, right, you're like, I got to provide. I got to get these bills paid. We need diapers or baby food or more groceries. So it's super easy to get so caught up in that. And then you lose sight of like why you're working so hard. So like, how are you able to manage this along your journey? And especially now being co-owner?
Yeah. For me, again, it happened early. We actually decided to have kids really early. We were married for a year and then had our oldest son a year later, even while I was still at college. And again, I don't recommend that for most people, but it's something I just felt really good about. And we decided, we wanted to have kind of a bigger family. And so we decided we should start having kids. But what that did is very early, like I was a 4.0 student in high school. Like, school was my thing, school and sports. And when we had our first son, I realized I had to start making trade-offs, right? Like, I'm working, I'm going to school, and now not only do I have a wife, but now I have a child. And what do I do? How do I manage that? And so I just am like, okay, I can't do everything. I'm going to have to sacrifice somewhere. What is it going to be? And it was the first time in my life where I realized it's okay to not get an A. That was kind of like this awakening for me. It's like, hey, what's the goal here? The goal is to, at this point, just graduate and find the type of career that I'm looking for. And so I intentionally would find the classes where I'm like, you know what? I need this class, but I don't need an A. And so I wouldn't do as much homework in that class. And it was very intentional and hard, but I was willing to sacrifice that for more time with my wife and our new son. And so because of that experience, though, now going on into my career, I realized, okay, family is first for me. That is my priority. I'm going to have to make sacrifices. Well, how can I do that? When do I choose to make that sacrifice? And so always being intentional. There were times where it's like, okay, this is a late night meeting. Does it really make sense for me to go to it? Do I really need to be there? Is this something that we could do at a different time? And so I'd always ask that question, is this really necessary? And by doing that, it kind of helped just make those decisions. And I found more often than not, most people kind of understood that about me and stopped expecting me to perform a different way than I wanted to. When I was at work, right? I didn't get distracted. I mean, I still talked to everyone, like made sure I was active in going around the office and stuff like that. But I was very intentional. If I'm at work, I'm working. I'm not screwing around. I'm not scrolling on Facebook. Even still today, I should be on Facebook more, right? Cameron, right? Like, how many times do you message me? And I just don't message back because I'm not there. It's so out of my normal workflow that it's hard for me to like go back to that. And so, yeah, when I'm at work, I'm at work. When I'm at home, I'm at home. And, you know, now I kind of have this routine of leaving work, I'm at home, I'm with my kids. I'm usually coaching or doing something with them. And then around, you know, like 8:39, I'll check back in on Slack and just see, is there anything that's missing or anyone needs any updates? And I can jump into that. But it's usually not that much time, 30 minutes at most. And then I'm off again, you know, we get the kids to bed together. And obviously my kids' age ranges now are dramatically different. So we have them kind of all over the place when they're coming and going. But I'm very intentional about, spending time with them and making sure they know. COVID was, also interesting. I think all of us kind of took a step back during COVID and realized, okay, it's fine to allow our kids into a meeting, you know, like if someone sees them, they say hi. It's not so unprofessional that, you know, we're going to get fired, you know, like that. I think that was a really healthy time. We became people, you know, because of cameras and COVID. And so that was nice for me as well of it's okay. My kids are here. Now my boys, anytime I'm on a call, if they hear someone's voice, they'll actually walk in my office and come wave and then just walk right back out. So it's not even to see me. It's like they want to see who's on with me. And I think that's good though, right? Like it's healthy. I think it's good for them to see me at work and what I'm doing and kind of seeing what's going on.
All right. So now that we're here, we're going to stay in the same loop. Now you basically just talked about intentional parenting. So for the agency owner, whether it's a guy or a lady that's kind of struggling with that, or they're like, man, I need some tips or some boundaries to put in place. Like, give us some of what those are, because again, it's not like you're new to this. It's not like, oh, we only have 2 clients. To be clear, y'all, these people that we're bringing on the podcast are, I don't want to say mega successful, but really successful, right? It's not like it's just them and one other person. No, it's them and a team of people that depend on them for salaries. So what are some of the things that you would suggest to another, maybe a younger version of you that's, we got oh man, I'm excited. We just hit 250 grand or 500 grand, but they're married. You got 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. Like, what are some things that you can help them to see and or put in place to continue to improve on being an intentional parent?
Yeah. I would say there's a time and a season for everything, right? And so those early days are harder on you as, you know, as you're building, and then on your family. But you can still do it in a way that is intentional. And by that, I mean, again, early on while I'm at school, my wife, she would bring our son, our little baby, to school and have lunch with me. in the middle of all my classes, my schedule, I'd have work and stuff. I didn't have time to come home. So she would bring, and we'd have lunch, 3-4 times a week on campus. And it was just like, yeah, so that took a lot of effort on her part to be there for that to happen. But she was like, I'm going to be intentional as well. And so, amazing on what she would do. And then that just kind of carried over, is like, okay, hey, tonight's one of those nights I'm going to work late, sorry, let's figure this out. And she's like, okay, I can handle this. Actually, I'm going to drop one of the boys off. They're going to sit in the office with you and hang out and do homework or whatever it might be. And so we just kind of managed it. Like you said, we're in a different phase of growth right now, that it's not, the nightly grind that it was early on. But again, I don't think you have to do that to be successful. Like, the more time you put in, yes, the more chance you have at success. But I also think when your time is limited, you're so much more deliberate and intentional about how I'm going to use that time. And I think it helps you make better decisions, right? It's like, what is my number one priority? Because that's all I can do today. And so that lens has really helped us focus on making the most of every day and only working on the big items. Where other times where we've been loose with our time, it's like, let's kind of do this. And then it has no impact anyway. And it's like, well, that was just a waste of time for everybody. It didn't matter. Not saying that we're perfect. Like, we obviously make things we think are important that aren't, but a lot more intent behind that because we're concerned about time. I think does that answer it?
This is your podcast.
Okay.
Can't do everything. When you're at work, you're at work. Time and a season for everything. I think that's a huge one, because I know I even had to have that conversation, I think a year and a half ago myself. Like, could I go to more conferences and do more traveling and meet more people? Yeah. But I think last year my kids would have been 8, 6, and either 1 or not even 1.5 yet. So it's kind of like, Cam, conferences will always be there. You're gonna always miss out on something, but they're only, and from what everybody tells me, like, they're only gonna be 2 one time. They're only gonna need you in the manner that they do now, and it's gonna get drastically different. And you even see the different charts where they're like, hey, your kids spend the most time with you up until age 18, and it only gets smaller because they go to college, they get married, they start their own family. So unless you're lucky and y'all live in the same city, 10 to 20 minutes apart, this is all you got. So I think that was super important to realize that, because like, to your point about putting kind of like boundaries in, one of the things I was just noticing, I'm like, man, I feel like I have this desire to want to be like more intentional with my kids, but I'm like, I just don't feel like I'm doing that. So like, what are some things I can do? And so I started, I don't want to say making it mandatory, but we just started doing dinner together like every night, versus it was kind of like, if we do, it's cool. If not, we had some other things, like every Saturday we do pancake day. We always watch some type of cartoon while we're doing. So there's some, we go to church together. So we have some. It's just like, I want more. So over like the past 2 weeks, I just made sure to just consistently do it. And now it's kind of like everybody's main highlight time. The girls get to telling about their day and cracking jokes, and it's just a cool thing. So I think that is super important to realize that there's always going to be more time in the future.
Yeah.
It's okay to kind of slow it down now.
So you remind me, Ryan Smith, he's the CEO of Qualtrics. If you guys have ever heard of Qualtrics, a survey company, massive multi-billion-dollar company, founded here in Utah. And I was listening to Ryan on a podcast, and he said, he's just insanely busy, right? Like, more than we could ever imagine. And he said, I realized there are 3 times in the day that matter the most with my children. When they first wake up, when they first come home from school, and right before they go to bed. And it's like, and so my goal is, for sure, I have to hit one of those. I have to have one of those points with them. I have to connect with them at one of those. And it's like, but I usually try to get 2, but at a minimum, I have to have 1. And And it's like, even as I'm traveling, it's like, okay, I'm talking to them when they first wake up or when they first come home from school or right before they go to bed. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Anyway, just kind of a thought that stuck with me. My kids' age, my oldest son, 15, now a sophomore in high school, they just started, to my youngest is 3. And so the time and what matters to them is very different. My 15-year-old son, diehard basketball, right? So we're in the gym in the morning, 2 to 3 times a week, 5:30 a.m. He's like, Dad, let's get gym time, right? And so I go shoot, rebound with him, and that's just time that I get with him. And then my next son, 7th grade, he'll come every now and then, but I coach him in football. So that's other time with him. And so it's like, I'm just finding the time that matters to them to be there, even though it's not this extended amount of time. Sometimes it's only 10, 15 minutes. When you really boil it down, it's like, okay, I got a meal with them. Great. Every night, we pray together, before they go to bed. And that to me is just a huge part, that we have that closure at the end of the day together. And I think the it's not as much even the length of time versus, again, going back to that, the intentional time.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's swap it over then. All right, now one thing you mentioned a couple of times, you said VC money pressure. So a lot of people, because you're in the same circles as I am, everybody's like, oh, I want to sell the business, or oh, I want to buy the business. So what is it like, I guess, working under the venture capitalist that has bought out the business and they're trying to put things in place so that they can make their money back? Right. So kind of walk us through what that looks like, having been one of the employees in that situation, but was higher up in management.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've seen good, experiences and bad, kind of being on both sides. The good experiences is when you have something, your ability to like pour gas on a fire is crazy. I mean, you can just explode and like go after something. When it's hitting and it's just working, it's so powerful. But the problem is, as soon as you get that money, if the management team isn't really experienced on how to use it, you tend to grow out of proportion. Most of the time, they're just investing it in sales, right, to grow the revenue, and that tends to like shift the playing field of the company. You get a little unbalanced, and then you have to kind of backfill and like even that out. So that's tough. I would say the other huge downside is, a lot of times when you're raising money, you're trying to raise at the highest valuation possible because you want to give up as little equity as you can to get the most amount of money, right? So it's like, okay, I want us to be valued at $20 million. I only want to give up, this percentage to get the amount of capital I'm trying to raise, which in theory is great until you need to raise money again. And if you go and raise in the second round, I mean, you're the finance guy, Cameron, right? You're going to know this. They go to raise the second time and they didn't hit their numbers, right? They weren't able to make the return on that investment like they should have. And so now it's considered a down round, right? You're underperforming. And so now that $20 million valuation, instead of all the money you took, you should have at least hit a $40, $50 million valuation. You only are like 25 or $30 million. And that just hurts. When they come to put money in, they're going to want a bigger chunk. And it just starts creating this downward pressure instead of this upward momentum. It's a downward pressure on everyone. Like, product, man, you guys didn't deliver. Engineering, where's everything at? Sales, how come you guys aren't hitting your numbers? Marketing, why don't we have a bigger audience yet? And it's just such a negative pressure. It creates this toxic environment, right? And so it just depends on the company. And the one I was at where we had like the down rounds, multiple rounds of down, it was awful. It was so painful. I mean, just stressed all the time. I was like, I cannot live like this. I just can't do it anymore. It was just killing everything about me. and I'd come home miserable and didn't want to be with my kids because I was so frustrated. I didn't want to be an ornery dad around them. And I was like, I'm done. I just got to get out of it. Compared to, you know, the first two businesses I was in, is the opposite. You had stress, but it was like, we're growing, we're experiencing growth, and it was a good stress. Yeah. So I just, be hesitant to take money until you have something. It's like, you know, just like doing ads. Like if for every, you know, dollar I put in ad spend, I'm getting back like 5, keep doing that, you know? And so if you have a product or business where you can see as you're adding money in, you're able to execute and exceed that growth, then maybe you should look at getting some sort of investment round. If you aren't quite there and you're kind of still iterating and like finding things, don't take any money. Like just wait. Please just wait.
Don't do it. All right. So basically, in so many words, if you don't know what you're doing or you ain't got your systems and processes down, you don't need to ask nobody for.
Yeah. Yep. Simple. Yeah. Don't ask for anything. Say no.
All right. There you go. All right. Let's keep rolling. So now another thing you talked about, now getting caught up to wave right now. So you really started hinting at strategic partnerships. That's how you met your co-founder. You got your thing going. Then you start partnering with different people who had different CRMs. And then you got the one with high level. So what are some of the things, I'm sure you have a nice amount of case studies. What are some things that you have seen that make great strategic partners? Because we know a lot of agencies where they're like, man, if I could just get some referrals from somebody who does this other thing that can help me grow, or if I can find some people who need what we do because we know it's really specific, that would help. So give us like 3 to 5 tips for finding what you would qualify as a great strategic partner.
Yeah. So we've learned a ton here. I would say always focus on the customer, the actual customer, right? And so you think of partnerships and it's like, okay, it's cool. They have a big audience. I know they're in the same space. Cool. But why are they working in that space? Like, what is the customer doing? What is the real job to be done? And for an example, in real estate, you have like brokerage type software, CRM software for the big brokerages. And then you have like individual CRM software for like, I'm a solo agent. I'm part of this brokerage, but I'm buying software for myself. Well, we went to these big brokerages and thought, oh my gosh, their audience is amazing. It's huge. We're hundreds of thousands, you know, like hundreds of thousands of agents are on these platforms. We sell 1%. We're golden. Like, this is amazing. Didn't happen. And it was because the job to be done was so different for the brokerage and what they were trying to buy and do from an individual agent wanting to use a dialer. Just dramatically different use case, dramatically different audience. And their buying behaviors were so detached. It just didn't work. And so I look now in high level or as a marketing agency, it's like, okay, I want to go and partner with someone because they have a good audience and they're in this space. Okay, well, who is their actual audience, right? Are they truly people that are using my type of service or my type of product in every day? Or is it kind of like a fringe thing that they might be interested in? As soon as you get into the might be, don't touch it. There's so much energy and involvement. It's just not going to work. The partnership's not going to work because it's not a high enough priority for both sides to invest into making that successful. You have to educate the user so much. It's just not going to work. It has to be like on a critical path in their partnership. That's why they're bringing you in, or that's why you want to bring them in. It's part of the day to day. Otherwise, it's just not going to work.
All right, that's a good one. You got any more?
Yeah, I would say it's better to not do a partnership than take a bad partnership. I mean, that's kind of common sense, right? It's like dating before you get married. So affiliate deals are different. Like, there's not as much risk and pressure there, right? It's like, if they do it, great. If they don't, they don't. But if you're talking like real strategic partnerships, make sure you know them and know the company and know as much as you can about them, because you kind of have to prepare for the worst before you can even get started, as you're going through contracts, partnership agreements. Just really, really make sure you know the people that are going to be involved day to day with that partnership, because even if it looks like financially it would be good, if you're working with a partner that's just negative and like always dragging you down and is kind of like a time resource draw on your team, it's just not worth it again, right? Like you won't see the return on the investment because of the amount of weight and attention they're pulling away from you and your team.
All right. So I got always focus on the actual customer. It needs to be something that they will be using on the day-to-day basis, not just something they barely offer or we were kind of thinking about it. And make sure you know them and what they are about from a personal perspective. Don't just partner with them just because of some random reason.
Nailed it. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. All right. Now, let's go rapid fire. These are some of the more popular questions people love for us to ask. So we always just ask them at the very end. So rapid fire. If you could get in a time machine, you only got 30 seconds, and you get to go back to college, Spencer, and you know every single thing you know now, got the same kids, same career path, everything. What do you go back and tell the 21-year-old version or the 18-year-old version of
you? Be yourself and get uncomfortable. So be confident in who you are, and then go get uncomfortable and like put yourself in situations that are going to make you grow.
Okay. All right. I like that. All right, let's go. If I am not making $1 million yet, what am I not doing that's stopping me from getting there?
I'd say it's one of two things. First thing, have you really solved like the main, I say job to be done, the jobs framework? Have you really solved the actual job to be done? And if that's yes, like, okay, I know this is exactly, when someone comes in, they're like, yes, this is exactly what I was looking for. It's like, okay, check, I've got it. From there, then it is all about distribution. How do I get more awareness and more people into this product or service? And it's really that simple. And so as soon as you've nailed job to be done, you better go scale it then and find the fastest path through awareness. And most of the time, I think that does come through either being, we pick the partnership path. Ads are wonderful if you are really, really, really good at ads or find someone good at ads. But I think partnerships are just so amazing because you're coming from a voice of trust as a partner introduces you. I love partnership deals.
All right. And to be fair, that's how you built your business.
Yeah. Yep. There's a reason why we did it this way. Yeah.
All right. What has being a business owner taught you about yourself? Because at the beginning, I just want to lend my skill set to the startup versus like, this is your thing. What have you learned about yourself?
Man, I would say the thing I've learned most about myself is, again, be yourself. Don't try and be someone you're not. I look at leaders and I would always think, oh my gosh, they're like this A-type personality. They're just really hardcore and like demand all these things and are very sales driven. And I knew at my core that wasn't me, right? I just love engaging with people for better or for worse. Sometimes I get taken advantage of because I'm a little too nice or whatever it might be. And I thought that was a weakness. And now I'm like, I realize it is a strength. Being who you are is a strength as long as you're comfortable with that and kind of know your boundaries. And so, yeah, as a leader and in this role, it's okay to be who I am. I don't need to try to develop a different type of personality to be a leader. I can be a leader with exactly who I am, and just make sure I surround myself with people who can help offset where I'm weak. I make sure I hire them and like have them really close to me in those areas. And that's made all the difference for me is, being comfortable with who I am, my personality, and then surrounding myself with good leaders who can really help where I'm weak.
All right. What are 2 or 3 things that you do pretty consistently that you would say contribute to you being whatever you're defining as a success?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, consistency is everything, right? So the question is, what have I done consistently? I think it's take care of people. So whether it's customers or my number one, I know I should say customers, but it's not. Actually, my number one is my team. And so I make sure my team is taken care of. And that's not just financially, right? It's like, yeah, we want to compensate our team fairly and make sure they're motivated. But it's in all the other ways of what is the culture like in the office? What is it like online as we're on Zoom? You know, do we actually have respect and these core values that we're living by, and making sure people are actively engaged and excited to come to work. That is like my biggest thing, and making sure I focus on that. That kind of trumps everything else, I could say. It's like, yeah, you need to be consistent in all these other ways, but if you take care of your team and everyone around you, they are really the ones mostly interacting with your customers. If you're not at that point, right, if you're still small, take care of your customers, but whoever you're working with on your team, take care of them first. And it just has this multiplier effect.
Okay. All right. So now I'm going to let you do your part first. All right. So I'm going to wrap this up because I feel like we could keep going forever. Tell the people if they want to get in touch with you. Oh, man, you got this awesome software we never heard about. Maybe we need more information. Again, tell them name of the company, who you serve, and how they can get in touch with you if they want to.
So, yeah, Wave, our number one thing is a power dialer, a multi-line power dialer that's embedded inside a high level. And so if you are doing any sort of outbound outreach, you need to consider a power dialer. It is just so powerful, and you can have conversations so quickly and so efficiently. It's crazy. You will see sales. End of game. Like, you will see success if you'll do it. Best way to get a hold of us. First, you can email me, Spencer at wavv.com. You can go to our website, wave.com, and yeah, find us on Facebook. I mean, we try to be as many places as possible, but just email me. I love talking to people.
But remember, he said not through social because he'd be in the zone. So
Facebook, I mean, you can reach out on Facebook. It's just usually a little delayed, and I'll get better. But it might be a few days before I get back to you on Facebook.
That's fair. Because he already told y'all what's important.
Yep.
His work and his family. That's it.
Yep.
So that makes sense. All right, let's summarize this episode. So, starting at the top. Wanted to be a math teacher and coach. Grew up in a family of business owners. Why work for a startup? If you're going to come out the gate, why not? Because you get to learn a ton from them. Got married young, but the things that he learned through that journey and all these different transitions is, hey, you can't do everything. Where are you willing to sacrifice? And then just putting those boundaries in place. When you're at work, be locked in, be super focused at work. And when you're at home, turn it off. Intentional parenting tips for people who have multiple children and you're happily married and your company's successful. Just remember, it's a time and season for everything. You don't have to go achieve the stars right now while your kids are young. You can do that later on down the road, but find a sustainable pace so that you don't miss out on those. For the VC money, we'll just call it pressure. Just make sure that, I don't even want to say that you're picking the right one, but if you are the owner, that is important. But just know that things can change if you're not hitting certain metrics. Yeah, it sounds cool to get that funding, but if your numbers aren't locked in or you don't have the right team in place, what was really exciting can turn into something really stressful.
Yeah.
Strategic partnerships need to always focus on the customer. It needs to be something that the other person will be using on a very consistent basis, not just like we're thinking about it, contemplating, or like we're on the fence about it. And make sure you know these people that you partner with on a personal level, just because you're going to make it a lot harder to work with somebody that you don't like or you don't agree with their values. Don't just partner to partner. Things that can help you if you are not already at that $1 million agency mark. Always ask yourself, have you really solved the actual job to be done? And if you have, then how do we get more awareness of the greatness that you're doing? And then lastly, take care of your team because they will take care of you. Sounds like I got it pretty good.
Did you nail that? That was like AI notes on paper.
No, just the cam notes, just the cam.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, y'all. Well, this is what we're trying to do. Season 2, we're trying to bring you guys the best, the brightest. These are people who are not aspiring to be great. They're already doing it at a high level, and they're not leaving their family, the kids behind. They're still balanced. They're still guardrails. So these are the types of things and information we want you to get from these episodes. So reach out to every guest. Reach out to Spencer. Hit him up. Maybe you're like, man, I use high level. Well, maybe you need to be talking to Spencer so you can get this added into what you do to deliver even more results. And of course, you know who he is now. Like you said, you know who he is. You know about his story. So those are the types of people that you want to find, work, and grow with. So with all that being said, thank you guys again for turning into season 2 of Legacy's Journey. Make sure you like this, share this with people in the Go High Level group or anybody that you know that may could utilize this. Spencer, thank you again for coming on. And until the next time, you guys take care of yourselves.
Thank you.